Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. I'm Matt, that is Alonso, that is Brett, and Meredith. We're here to talk about Our Reservoir.
Reservoir.
The latest episode of The Deuce is this episode
7. Only one more to go, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff goes on in this one. We get a lot of action. I think it's really good. I like this one.
Yes.
I Googled 2 things.
Okay.
Variety did indeed review Boys in the Sand.
Love it.
Which was a very big deal. That's sort of like the kind of groundbreaking gay porn feature. And yes, the title is a play on the Boys in the Band. And Doppelpoppel is a thing.
Yeah, what is Doppelpoppel?
The food that he gives her.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's like a potato, egg, pepper, sausage scramble, basically.
It's very Midwest.
Yeah, it's sort of it's like a more legitimate scrapple.
Okay.
Oh,
like a Denver omelet, but with
But
potatoes.
loose, yeah.
Right.
I'm honestly shocked we haven't seen it featured in Fargo. I'll be really honest.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
you're right. Just as for the name alone, just to have somebody say
exactly.
Doppelpoppel.
But it
How
was
do they-
like I know in Minnesota it's a big thing.
That's how they write episodes of Fargo. They just have a bank of ridiculous isms.
It would be funny if we got Ewan McGregor to say this.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that show. We're talking
No,
about
sorry.
Deuce.
Yes.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
All right,
Okay.
so where do we want to start here? Because there's a lot of stories moving forward, and I can't help but think we're going to see some major stuff go down in the next episode because that's the end of the season.
All right. Well, you want to start with the mob?
Sure.
Okay. So they are.
I always want to start with a mob.
Sure. All right. So they see the movies are becoming a more legitimate enterprise, and so they want more of they want to be more involved in that aspect of things. And clearly, we're seeing the booths are going to become a reality as well.
Love it.
Well done, Frankie.
Yeah, I love when they go to the
No, not Frankie.
manufacturer.
It's
Big Mike.
Is it Big Mike?
Big Mike, not Black Frankie, but Big Mike. You're right.
Right,
It was
right,
Mike,
right,
yes.
right.
Okay, sorry.
Big Mike. And I love they go to that manufacturer like, and they're going to need to be easy to clean.
So put that in the price.
Disgraziato.
That's like the invent help. Just like, okay, here, make it, and it's gonna happen. And we're seeing all those fall into place, all those elements. We hear the mob echo the sentiment that we heard from the mob figure in the previous episode, where it's like, we all do need to be on board here. There seems to be one mafia guy who is a holdout, who looks at them skeptically, that we just met, so that's,
Right.
we're gonna have to keep tabs on that.
I think even he's in though, right? Because I like that at least we see from Pipolo, like there's this ruthless pragmatism, right? Where he doesn't look like he could really go to war over the ego of him getting skimmed, but when he basically says, look, there's too much money to fight over this.
Yeah.
Like there's so much money here, guys, let's just go for it.
If I had $1 for every like mob film that had the like, and we all can get along on this deal, like maybe not.
Right, and then Layla's playing as you see bodies
Yeah,
in the front
exactly,
of
in
the
the
trucks,
back of the truck. Speaking of the porn, more and more we're seeing Candy emerge as somebody who really understands all the facets of this. I was reminded in this episode of that scene in McCabe and Mrs. Miller when Julie Christie is telling Warren Beatty, look, you think you can run a whorehouse, but I'm a woman, I know how this stuff goes. I know when they're on their period, when they're not, when they're lying about it, and all these other million things that he is not gonna ever get his mind around. So while David Krumholtz is all about, where the lights go and stuff, Candy is the one who's all like, that bedspread is making me nauseous. This is how you're gonna look sexier. This is how we're gonna make you look more interested in the moment. Like she, let's have a lunch break. She is super intuitive about this stuff in a way that clearly at the end when he's like saying, hey, let's go out and eat, like he is appreciating that she's a necessary component.
And I want to point out, it's this fascinating dichotomy between how Candy's experience and just her awareness and her openness, and a lot of it, you're right, is being a woman, makes her so much more valuable to that production of that movie and that industry than Bobby running the massage parlor.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Right.
Yes, totally.
Right. He's terrible at it.
And Candy is, I think, notably not just a woman, but a sex worker herself.
Right.
And
Yes.
somebody who's been on both sides of the camera, somebody who understands the physiology and the psychology, all of that stuff's going on. Yeah, Bobby is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, well, Candy's looking at making a film, not just a porn. She's thinking about this in an artistic sense. And we see that mirrored later when they go to the screening of Boys in the Sand.
Right.
Because it's like, well, if gay porn can be elevated to that level, why not, straight porn? And I think, especially when she's like, the whole lift up move.
They all had dreams about dick, and then there was dick. So many dicks.
But that wasn't Candy. That was
No, I know, that was Ashley.
right.
But I thought that was such a great juxtaposition between the two, because you're seeing gay porn shown in almost an artistic sense. Everyone went there to appreciate the film, not the fact that there were just dicks on the screen.
Right.
And I feel like with Candy's character, she's trying to make it artistic but also pragmatic, like sexy. She's just making it sexy.
Yeah, and they hint to. I mean, there's an obvious reference to Deep Throat in this episode, which is that moment of what they call porn chic, where these kind of movies played in some legitimate theaters. It became a thing for like. Couples would go to these movies, and people would talk about them on talk shows. Like I was looking at the wiki page for Boys in the Sand. Like Andy Warhol went to go see Boys in the Sand and talked about it. So there was this moment where it seemed like porn was just sort of the next frontier of movies. That it was going to be like first we had the R rating, and now we have the X rating, but that's still going to be, it's still going to be considered legitimate.
Next we're
cinema.
gonna have XXX.
Right, but like,
but we had like Midnight Cowboy had already won Best Picture at this point, and that was an X-rated film when it originally came out. So there was this notion that like hardcore pornography was going to be a facet of the film industry, and then that very quickly went away.
And if we're thinking about like the timelines of what I have in my head as consumer of media and dramatized historical fiction, the next dot after this, further down the line, is Boogie Nights. So we are gonna get to Boogie Nights, and when I think of Boogie Nights, I think of like that era when he's not willing yet to give up this filmic presentation
as opposed
of porn
to
as
video,
opposed to just video.
Right, and in a few more decades after that, in Hell's Kitchen, you've got Daredevil cleaning it up.
Right, but like with Candy, it's almost the I don't know art, but I know what not I like, but what the boys like.
Yeah,
and
what plays,
what plays well in the room to actual people, and she's trying to get that out there. And
right, well, and part of that is what she said in the previous episode to. The brunette that she brings in, like remember
to Lori,
the camera is the John, right, and that's
and enjoy it more than you ever have.
Right,
it worked, man. That was a hot scene that she made.
What's fascinating about that is a thing that David Krumholtz doesn't quite get, right, and what it seems to be laying the groundwork for is what's going to be presumably a very productive relationship between the two of them.
I love this character. I love Krumholtz's line where he says, "I'm a degenerate." Like he's like, it's very reluctant. It's aware. It's a little depressed, and I like that going up against Candy, who is, aware. She might not be reluctant. I mean, she's eager to get the F out of the being on her back, but. She is a little depressed about all this, and whereas Krumholtz seems to be like, oh, this is my life. Candy is the like, oh, this could be my life.
Sure, and because her life, she's now working with this sort of with the fancy Madam Alex, who we haven't met, which is getting her a better class of client, but they're still as messed up as anybody else. And the guy barfing.
And that's his thing, right? He barfs after he finishes, and that's why he needs to buy it because he's embarrassed. Is that what?
No, I think he's so ashamed of himself for cheating on his wife. I think.
That's what
that was my impression, but I think we're looking at a thing where
or Candy was just so awful.
I thought it was like the Sex and the City thing where like he has to do something after.
No. I think, but going back to the whole the porn chic thing and about these movies, ostensibly the idea that they would appeal to men and women, the early stuff is appealing to men because it's just two people fucking, and that's enough. That's like I can see her bush, I can see his dick, I can see her thighs, whatever. Bam, that's good for me. But Candy is moving towards a thing of like, what if instead of just lying there looking at the ceiling, they're actually registering pleasure and makes that into something that women would find sexy because it's not just about the mechanics of it, but about the expression of pleasure specifically on the woman's face, even more than on the man's face.
Well, and that shows through when with her directorial cues, with everything she tells the girls, just how to look, how to react, and then even take it slower, dude. Come on, just. Enjoy it, and I think it's just such a fantastic way, especially when we think about porn these days and how while it can still be debated women's role in it, but women still feel most empowered when they go and choose the life of being in pornography themselves. And I think it's a fascinating look at the roots of all this.
Yeah, and you see on Lori's the expression on Lori's face that like she is either enjoying it more or at least figuring out a way to express it to the camera, which is the whole point.
I think that she was enjoying it more.
Okay,
because based on how Candy stopped the scene earlier where she got everybody food, right? And then I think she directed the dude into actually helping or
stimulating
Lori
the right
something
space. Like that feels good, doesn't it? Like, and I think it's also a comfort and confidence that Candy was able to create in Lori just by making 3 really good decisions in a row of let's eat, let's talk to her in a calming, soothing way because she's nervous.
And let's put some Vaseline on her breasts.
So
that's the most important.
That's the thing I learned. I didn't know that was a thing, but okay.
I did it right after, and it does work.
The lighting just kind of. So meanwhile, speaking of Ashley, she is getting the hell out because she does not want to do the massage parlor, and
I was afraid. I was afraid for her.
Yes.
I was afraid Cece was going to find her.
I'm still afraid for her.
I am too.
Yeah.
This is the point in the season where I care if people die. At the beginning, like someone's gonna die, and it might have an effect on other characters I'll end up caring about. But this is a part where it's like, oh, what's her name?
Ashley.
Ashley's gonna go to the top of the platform, and Cece's gonna be waiting for her and shoot her in the face.
I'm more worried because now that Abby owns Ashley's dress, Cece will see Abby wear that dress again, and he will put 2 and 2 together and then go after Abby, which will cause
or go after Vincent.
Yeah,
go after Vincent.
Because
That's what I thought was happening that night.
Because we already see that the pimps are blaming Vincent, right? And he tries to, or at least one of the pimps.
Oh, right. Yes, on the 7 in the parlor, and they're trying to bring it to the bar. He's like, I'm not involved, even though obviously he is involved.
But I can see that bringing Vincent and Cece into direct conflict if Cece goes after Abby in any way.
And the pimps are acknowledging to each other, we are moot.
Yeah,
we
they're
are
becoming
increasingly extraneous to this situation.
I saw a movie for the first time in who knows long. I mean, like I'm just like, what are you guys doing?
They went and saw Fantasia.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that.
Pimp Method Man talking about Fantasia.
I know.
Yeah, I dug that shit.
So what are they gonna do? That's a real question that's swirling, and it seems like Cece has really gravitated toward at least the cachet, it seems, of the porn industry, saying like, we gotta protect Lori before, because she shoots in 2 days, she's gotta be fresh. I think he likes that. He likes that he did get like a substantial cut of the shooting proceeds.
He's going to be an agent.
He's a man, that's what it's
a short hop, I think. Speaking of pimps, we have a dead one now. Do we think, I couldn't tell if the diner owner was who did he call? Was it the police or was it just like, does he have a
police?
Does he have a service that comes and picks up dead people?
I feel like he called a cleanup crew personally.
Yes, I thought like Harvey Keitel's going to show up, and
the way he phrased it doesn't seem like something you would say to the police.
Yeah, it was very matter of fact, and
but then again, keep in mind like that area of New York at that time, like
true.
Who's going to care?
I got one.
Dead pimp, whatever. No, so I'm kind of fascinated to see how that, because there isn't the impression of like I'm gonna turn myself in now. It's more like, could somebody please take this out because I have the lunch rush coming in.
I love that actor. I thought he was great in The Wire. He's fantastic at that that reluctance. He's seen this happen all the time, and either he does this all the time, which I don't really believe, or else there wouldn't be so many damn pimps in his house. Or he just got to that point. He thought. He held out a little bit of hope that she would then like finally be able to enjoy her meal, but then she leaves and he's just like, I'm gonna just wait here till the cops show up. And I think he can get away with it just being saying the guy attacked her. If you find her, she's black and blue all over her face by now, I'm sure. And she probably will deny it, but like I shot that guy because he attacked her.
And Leon's been clear before that don't start shit in the restaurant. I don't want you bringing this into the restaurant. He's laid the ground rules before.
Let's talk about grass eaters and beef eaters.
Oh yeah. The new commanding officer shows up and says there's 2 kinds of people. And I love that. Like, they told me once back in the day that I would find a black officer who hasn't made rank and ask him what's happening.
Right.
And so
right.
the meat
because it
eater,
means he doesn't have a rabbi.
meat eater is the Ralph Macchio or the other guy from the 14th who shows up in the
shakedown
courthouse, and
Right.
and then there are the ones who they just kind of keep their nose out of it. They're upset. They have a moral compass.
I mean, as they're clean cops.
Yeah, they still
relatively
take
speaking.
a bit on the side because they have to. Otherwise, if they're not part of that culture, they'll be.
They look
tossed out.
suspicious,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Right. Serpico.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
So that sows these seeds of there's a new sheriff in town, and I'm gonna and he seems to want to clean things up.
Right, but the thing is, but his idea of cleanup is different than, well, we'll just take them off the street and put them in a massage parlor. It's more like, no, I mean actual cleanliness. And as then a throwaway line, Lindsay has already lost the Florida primary.
Yeah.
So his presidential campaign is already on the skid. So if that was a motivating factor before in terms of trying to clean up New York in time for his sensible candidacy, then that may be also out the window.
And then we'll get into this strange like moral pragmatism where people have to ask, is it enough to just get it into a place where the prostitutes are safe and they're not getting beat up? I mean, who's really getting hurt here? There's not prostitutes on the street, so you can walk your kid down the street potentially. Or is there gonna be someone with like a moral absolutism who shows up, like this new commanding officer, and says, no, we need to get rid of it all. This is all vice, this is all bad.
Well, and you got to figure part of that, what would allow the rise of that porn industry, on film. If you're really gonna clean up the streets, the next thing you're gonna do is start cleaning up the billboards and cleaning up like the types of shops, right? I mean, at least the massage parlor, it's like an unmarked door, right? But you gotta figure they would be closing the sex shops and the more obnoxious spots like that. But if it doesn't matter because the dude lost the primary, it's like, well, all right, fine.
But we also know from history that up until even the 90s, those sex shops still were rampant. And,
Yeah, it wasn't until
right outside
Disney
the-
came in to really
Right, but I think the motivation to clean up the city now that that's gone away and this other business has started, there's more money to be made on using that street space to advertise this other business model than just having hookers walk around on it.
Now there's also this whole notion of like of the response that occurs when the prostitutes try to steal from a guy.
Yeah.
That, which I think is interesting because on the one hand you would think, oh well, you've got everybody on one side and the Johns on the other, but no, they don't want the Johns to get the word out that you can't go to the place where they're going to
you need the Johns to be satisfied
so
customers.
it's always the women who get screwed on this, literally. I mean, like who get the short end of the stick as far as how they're being treated.
Literally.
And who's on there? All the metaphors are wrong. And so you hear what I'm saying. And then you've got like Bobby out front who is paying out of his own pocket to keep what's her face from having to go into the back, which is
what the hell is Bobby doing?
I know.
Yeah, totally the girlfriend experience.
He is terrible at running this kind of shop.
Yes.
Even though he asked Vince to, Vince made this deal on the assumption that Vince would have nothing to do with it. Vince is gonna have something to do with it.
Probably
Bobby's
so.
not gonna be able to run it well. He's already showing multiple mistakes in a row. He's not keeping the women clean, heroin free when they show up.
Right.
He's not making sure that I guess he is doing the right thing when the prostitutes are stealing from the Johns, but he's also like, the one thing is like, this is my brother-in-law running a whorehouse. The brother-in-law has already expressed interest in a specific prostitute to create essentially a relationship with her, which she picks up on absolutely.
Oh
when
yeah,
totally
she does. Which is such a shame because I felt like up until this point, Bobby was just so good. Like he's happy, he had his wife and family, and we haven't seen any problems there. And I kind of didn't want to, it'd be nice. It'd just be nice to have one decent guy character, but nope.
Vince is a nice character.
Vince is very nice. I like him.
Do we think Bernice is going to go home?
I don't know if. I think she's broken.
She's gonna die.
Yeah, I think she's gonna die.
They're just gonna kill one person next week. Someone's gonna die.
Speaking of Vince, do we think that? I was waiting for the scene that we would usually get where he confronts Abby about the fact that she totally used him to like annoy her parents.
Yeah.
And that she misrepresented what the scene was gonna be to get him to show up in his leather jacket. And
I don't think he cares though.
I guess not. I think he was sort of mildly amused by the whole thing, but it was just so obvious that like that she created this whole scenario just as a fuck you to them and didn't clue him into that's what she was doing.
Right. Well, I just thought we were gonna have that scene at the end of Cocktail where it's like, you, my daughter, I'm the rich man, you're the bar man. Fight, leave.
Instead, Vince and the dad basically get along, and he's all proud that she's doing good as a barmaid.
I think he was being sarcastic.
But I think he took it in stride.
I think you would rather hear, even if you don't like what the job your daughter is in, you want to hear that she's doing it well.
Yeah. I just don't understand Abby's motivations because it's like, what beef do you have with your family? I mean, maybe you don't like.
Well, she's in her early 20s, so it's all like, mom and dad,
she's
tell me what to do.
She's annoying.
She is the one that like. I really am not sure where that character's going, unless it's the obvious answer that she's going to be an actress in these movies. Because that's even more of a fuck you to her family.
Yeah, where does she go?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I maybe sort of see her like bypassing the Candy route and going straight into something managerial, distributional, like, I mean, whatever the mob will allow, obviously.
Yeah, right.
But I see her as being behind the scenes. I don't see her having sex on camera, but I do see her using what she knows and her ability to work with people or whatever in a way that is somehow, in the field of porn.
Meredith, you look like, sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, I just don't feel like she came off her first introduction, very well intelligent girl with like good, female forward feminist views of the time. And I just feel like we've lost that and I don't understand the reasoning. And much like you, like, I don't see her going into the business. I don't see her attracted to, we haven't seen that. She seems interested in the porn industry. She obviously is like, I don't want to get screwed over by helping another hooker, but she just doesn't seem, she just wants to rebel. And I'm just kind of a little wet blanket with her storyline right now.
Yes, and I don't know if that's like an actress thing or a character thing. I think she is that well-meaning rich kid who wants to both tell her parents to go F themselves and really make a difference. But when it comes down to it,
with their money,
to other people, but when it comes down to it, she doesn't really want to make a difference because that's so complicated and real, and it's not black and white. There's like a lot of different levels, and she seems like the person who she runs the risk of, like, I don't know if you remember in Traffic where Michael Douglas goes down and tries to like bail out his daughter, and he's like, I have money for you, and that will fix it. And the guy's like, I've got money, I'm a drug dealer. Like she will have some kind of fundamental misunderstanding at some point of what's really going on here, like the rich, detached, sheltered person she once was, and it'll maybe get more for her, but maybe she's the lens for people who are watching it from that perspective.
Well, and she's learning along the way. Like, she didn't immediately give Ashley money because she still feels burned about that bus ticket that she gave to Darlene, but then later she does wind up giving her the money for her own bus ticket to get the hell out of town. The one person I think who does want to change things is the Amsterdam news reporter who finally makes a move on the cop, or vice versa, or both. So
yeah, it scared me after that first move. I was like, that was real aggressive. Right after you said you wouldn't. And then she was fine with it.
I do have one complaint. No Big Mike this week. It's very sad.
Well, he dragged some people out of the massage parlor, but no dialogue.
That was
Black Frankie?
That was Black Frankie.
Who has the hat?
Right.
Black Frankie.
Black Frankie.
Okay,
Big Mike,
sorry,
but
you're right.
Big Mike.
We saw Big Mike's work.
Big Mike's
but we
work.
didn't see Big Mike.
Yes, the booths have a lingering.
Right. The work speaks for Big Mike.
Yeah, there we go.
It's like those Da Vinci drawings, that sketch of the booths. It's just
so iconic.
All right, so we'll be back next week to talk about the final episode. Do we think someone's gonna die? Someone else?
Someone has to die. I think someone's gonna get. I mean, someone died this episode.
My bet's on Abby.
It was important.
I think Abby's.
That's a terrible statement to just say. I think someone has to die.
No.
I don't know. I'm just saying,
I could see Ginger dying. You called that one. That's a maybe.
We're getting to the point where people we care about can die, and that's enough for me.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll be back with the season finale next week, and then season 2 in months or a year, whatever. Thank you.